If you love podcasting as much as I do, you may be considering starting your own. Starting a podcast has been one of the best decisions I have ever made, but getting started can feel overwhelming. Buzzsprout is the easiest and most professional way to start a podcast. Buzzsprout has helped over 100,000 people launch their own podcasts, including me. Buzzsprout will launch your show on all of the major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play, to name a few. You also get a podcast website, audio players that can be dropped into other websites, and stats of who is listening, and so much more. Buzzsprout also publishes blog posts, podcasts, and YouTube videos every week. They are great tools and have useful information from expert podcasters. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in our show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that I sent you, and it supports my show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey listeners, I'm Amber.
And I'm Naomi. And this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Hi, Sissy. How are you?
Hello. How are you? Long time no see.
I mean, I feel like we see each other a lot, but that's a good thing because I love you very much and I enjoy your company very much.
But seeing each other a lot is a new thing, and I'm sort of loving it.
I'm really loving it.
Because it's like, when else would we carve out this much time just to chit chat with each other?
We would never. We wouldn't. We're busy women. We're busy women. We have lots of things to do.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, kind of sad that we have to make it work related to actually be like, well, that's worthy of putting on the calendar.
It reminds me of when we tried to get you and me and Marissa together with our cousins, and it was like, let's get a cousin day on the books, and it was like we started the conversation over the course of like 2 weeks. We texted, and the soonest date was like 4 months away that we could all be at the same at the same time.
Yes,
like,
I know. What the fuck?
It is insane.
You ever see that meme that circulates?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I love you. I'll never forget you. Yeah, it's like that.
It's totally
my God.
like that.
Well, you know what's so weird too is like most nights I literally am like kind of doing nothing after 8 o'clock.
Well, I mean, that's normal. We're adults. We have a lot to do. By 8 o'clock.
I know, but there's no reason we can't be on the phone for like a quick hello.
I mean, that's true. That is true.
Like, what is wrong?
I don't know. Because the phone has fallen out of favor. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Not for me. Actually, I don't mind talking on the phone. I actually enjoy talking on the phone.
You're a good phone talker.
I mean, I can talk, you know?
Well, I have a handful of people that I actually like have like an actual phone call with, and you're one of them.
Sure.
But it's not super popular anymore.
No, not a lot of people are into it.
I'm into it.
I'm still into it with certain people.
Certain people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%.
Well,
what's new with you, Sissy?
Okay, I have something new that I was going to tell you that I'm actually really excited about.
Okay.
So, we, as you know, we have another sister. And I somehow misinterpreted the conversation at the last cousin day that she is like she's not a fan of the true crime. Some people just aren't. Like, it gives them the heebie-jeebies, whatever. I reached out to her earlier this week and was like, I want to make sure I wasn't misreading, because I do that a lot. Like, are you not into it? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I totally want to fucking co-host. I totally want to do it.
That's awesome!
So I know. So I've got Marissa booked for October 5th as my co-host, and I am so fucking excited.
I cannot wait.
And she is crime that week, and I am chaos.
So. Well, that's good, because I know that with her, if I understand it correctly, she's not into the crime, and I think it's because it makes her feel icky, and she doesn't want to feel icky. So if she does the crime story, then she can do a crime that doesn't make her feel icky.
Yeah, and I think she's already got her story, because she texted me her story and said, have you done this? And I said no, and she's like, sweet, I'm doing it.
Oh, that's awesome.
What about you? What's new?
Well, I mean, not a lot. Jake and I went out to eat the other night, and we were at this restaurant that we really like over at Issaquah that's becoming one of our favorite little spots. And I was sitting there eating this lovely meal. We were having a good time, and like, I could not stop hearing the music overhead at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it was like that insufferable, pretentious, like jazz music that's always plays when you're at a quote unquote fancy restaurant. And I was like, when did we decide who made the decision that in order for a restaurant to be fancy, we had to be subjected to jazz music while we ate? You know what I mean? And can we have a fucking word? Can I talk to this person, please? Because, and that's how you know. That's how you know that you've walked into like a quote unquote fancy restaurant, is that it's jazz music playing. I don't know if you've noticed this.
I have noticed that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not about it. So that's my big news. And you know what? I posted that on Twitter. So if you want more of my hot takes, you can go follow me on Twitter.
Oh, I'm not on the Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
It's at Misnomers, MISSGNOMERS. And, I just randomly post my thoughts there. I've kind of started moving away from the Facebook for that and been doing it on Twitter because my family and friends aren't really on Twitter, so I can say shit
I
that
need to get on
Facebook.
Yeah, totally. I have not gotten on the Twitter bandwagon, and I need to. And also, I have to tell you, like, this is full disclosure. I don't remember what I was doing. I was sending you. I was on Instagram and tagging you.
Yes.
And I have always read Miss Nomers as Nomers is your nickname. And Miss, as in not Mrs., Miss. But it never penetrated that it was like, a misnomer. That is so fucking clever. And I was today years old when I learned that.
Well,
that has always been the whole point, right?
Yes.
And I just now was like, a misnomer.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with me that I didn't even notice that?
I don't know.
And I was like, my mind was blown at how fucking clever that is.
Well, you know that I can't take full credit because you know who gave me that nickname originally.
Huh?
Do you remember Becky Brown?
Of course I do.
Of course
the Brown family, they were like the angels of the neighborhood.
That's right. And so she goes by Becca now as a grown woman, but she was Becky when we were friends. And her dad, Tom, was a delight. He was an absolute delight, and he was a very funny man. And they had this dog, a little, like, I can't remember what kind of dog it was, a small dog, like a curly haired thing, and her name was Miss Bliss. And he called me Nomers, and one day he was talking to the dog and he said something about Miss Bliss, and then he was like, and Miss Nomers, and then I didn't even know that misnomer at that time. I didn't know misnomer was a word, and he's the one who explained to me that misnomer meant to name something inappropriately or incorrectly, right? And he started calling me misnomers. So
shut up.
Yeah, when I was like 10 or something. And so when I got older and people would call me gnomes, at some point in high school, it got changed into the spelling of a gnome with a G on it. And so then I started using misnomers as, like, my handle online or whatever with the G.
Oh my God. I am slow on the pickup, and also you got to let me have my moment where I'm excited about that, even though that's been the point the whole time. I'm like, that is so clever, and I am loving it.
Well, welcome to the party.
Thank you.
I'm
a little late, but I've shown up.
Here. I'm glad you got here.
Hopefully I was given desserts since I'm so late.
Well, how about some wine? What are you drinking today, Sissy?
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking the same thing I was drinking last time we recorded because I love it. It is the Matt Parish Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley. It's a 2019. It is like real robust and hearty, like a one glass and you're good kind of wine.
Kind of like a little bit of a meal in a glass.
Yeah, I bet it pairs really good with a good steak.
Oh,
it is a
I'm
really
sure.
Robust red, and
Great.
It's delicious.
I love that for you. I'm of course drinking my water. I don't know, a lot of your listeners probably don't know, and I'm not, anonymous about it, even though I do attend an anonymous program. I am in recovery, and so I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do any of those things, but I do love crime and I do love chaos.
And you're very good at it. And also, I would not consume wine in front of you if it was still a trigger, but you've been clean for over 10 years.
It's
Congratulations.
True. Thank you.
That's fucking huge.
Thank you, Sissy.
Yes, we support our people in recovery in every way we can, even if that means having it be crime, coffee, and chaos.
Well,
That's what my co-host needs for the day. That's what my co-host needs for the day.
We take care of each other. Right, exactly.
That's right.
Well, speaking of, do you have a crime you would like to share with me?
I do. I have one that's it's gonna bum you out, but it's got a positive ending. So hopefully it's not
Why do you always want to bum me out?
You know, every once in a while I find a crime that's sort of funny, but for the most part, crime's just not fucking funny.
I know.
Like, people just have a bummer. Oh, okay, before I get into my crime.
Okay.
This is going to be late news, but I wanted to mention that Adnan Syed was released.
Oh, that's right. You told
me. And I had forgotten. I was in tears when I read that. And then I read a deep dive, and he was not pardoned. It sounds like what is happening is that his conviction was vacated.
No.
While they do some more investigation. But what I am hoping is that they don't charge him again, because as long as there is, unfortunately, like with the West Memphis 3 and Alfred plea or whatever, there's no opportunity to sue.
Right.
For wrongful conviction, and he deserves to be able to do that.
Yeah. How long has he been in there?
Since 1999, I believe.
Oh my God.
As a 17-year-old. And my understanding is there was that Supreme Court ruling that was passed, I believe, in 2018. Don't quote me on that. That stated that it was unconstitutional to sentence juveniles to long-term and or life sentences. Yes. And so there were a bunch of cases that were reviewed, and his was one of them.
Oh.
And so it's been temporarily vacated. He is on house arrest, but the prosecution was the one that brought the motion to the court to vacate it and said that they don't have sufficient evidence to believe that he actually committed this crime in the first place. So kudos to the fucking prosecution.
Maybe they have a new prosecutor in town.
Mm-hmm. But there hasn't been a full exoneration yet. But for now, he is at home on house arrest. And I literally got tears when I read that. And I hope that it turns into an exoneration where he can actually be compensated for that in some way.
God,
I mean, you can't ever get those years of your life back.
No,
but
no. And those are the cases that are the hardest for me. I can't, those are the ones that I actually, like, those are the stories that I pass over on the Netflix and the Hulus and stuff, because it's like, my heart cannot handle those people who are clearly innocent and have spent the majority of their lives behind bars. Like that just, like, it's bad enough that we put people behind bars like that in the first place.
Yeah.
But that we
the only time that a human being should be in a cage is if you're truly talking about like fucking Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
Like he's gonna eat your face off if he can even act. Otherwise, human beings don't fucking belong in cages.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yep.
And that's it could turn into a whole rabbit hole because
it's almost like we could talk about this on a bonus episode for your Patreon supporters.
Yeah, and just as a little teaser, I think you had sent to me Patreon suggestions as far as, and one of them was true crime as quote unquote entertainment. And I just want to point out that nobody knew about Adnan Syed until Serial was released.
That's right.
And so it's not about entertainment. It's about
justice.
Nobody knew about West Memphis 3 until those sort of randomly a documentary was done. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And people will just sit there and rot.
Yep.
And nobody would ever know about it.
That's right.
So that's why it's important. It's not about entertainment because it's fucking funny or whatever. It's because it's important.
That's right.
I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate your PSA, Sissy.
Thank you. I'm always game for a PSA. Okay. Mm-hmm. And also that I worked in that field for 15 years and decided that it was a broken system and that I would rather do this instead of that.
Yep.
So here we are. I'm going to tell you a story that is grim, but ends happily.
Okay.
So rest assured that it will get better.
We'll get there. Okay. I'm strapping in.
So strap in. It is July of 2008 and we are in Orangeville, Canada.
Okay. Whereabouts in Canada is Orangeville?
I don't fucking know. That's a great question. I feel like it's the closest big city is Toronto.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about a lady named Lenore. And she had just started working a part-time job at a place called Creekside Clothing Company, which was a women's clothing boutique.
Mm-hmm.
And the store is in a small strip mall. There's a water company next door and a convenience store a few doors down. Okay.
Okay.
And on this Saturday in July, it was her very first shift working by herself for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's around 1:30 in the afternoon, and a man walks into the store, and Lenore said he was tall and he had long, thick, like bushy gray hair.
Okay.
Which is probably like a weird thing to see in a woman's clothing boutique.
100%. Yep.
Uh-huh. And so she just goes up to him and she asks him if she can help him find anything. And he tells her that he really wanted to get this skirt for his girlfriend and she's homesick and wasn't able to come with him. So he wants to take a picture of the skirt and send it to her, see if she likes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Lenore holds the skirt up so that he can get a picture. But when he angles his cell phone, it seems pretty obvious that he's pointing the camera at her face and not at the clothing.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, what the hell? You're taking a picture of me. What are you doing? Right. And he's pretty adamant that he's just taking a picture of the skirt. He's like, no, blah, 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 just the skirt. And she's like, whatever. And he says he'll come back later and get the skirt if she decides that she likes it because he's going to send her the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in time, there's other people in the store shopping. And so she's not really scared. She's just like, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's 4 hours later. It's 5:30 and Lenore is doing her closing duties and getting ready to go home for the night when the same guy walks into the store. And she's kind of annoyed because she's already like counted down her till and she was just getting ready to lock the door. Like she's done for the night. And he grabs the skirt and walks over to Lenore and hands it to her. Like, okay, I'm going to buy it. Right?
Okay.
So she's holding the skirt and he is like feeling into his pants and he's like, oh, darn, I forgot my wallet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So she's like, no biggie. I can hold the skirt for you until Monday. She asks him what his name is. He tells her that his name is Steven and he can come between 4 and 4:30 on Monday. So she writes all that down on a piece of paper to put on top of the skirt, right?
Uh-huh.
Then he grabs a pair of shorts and she reaches out to grab the hanger from him. And when she reaches out, he reaches out and grabs both of her breasts.
Ew!
Mm-hmm. This guy's a fucking piece of shit. And Lenore is like, she never, ever, ever swears. That's what she said in this documentary that I was watching. But she was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Like, right. And Steven, he just smiled like he was really enjoying the fact that he had just upset her. And then he lunges at her and takes her down to the ground.
Okay.
Also, okay, I just have a sidebar. I think about like my time working at Subway as a 15-year-old.
Right.
In a strip mall, closing by myself, and nothing around me was open. And every time I think about that, I think about the yogurt shop murders.
100%.
The whole reason those other girls that were killed were in that store was because there were young girls closing a store late at night by themselves.
Yep.
It just... Retail, man, it's everything to save. They always want to save costs on labor and not on other things.
That's
you
right.
Don't leave fucking young people or tiny women closing a store by themselves when there's no stores around them that are open.
That's
you
right.
just don't fucking do it. What are you paying? Like that 1 hour of minimum wage is, if that's going to break your business, you have a bad fucking business plan to begin with.
That's exactly right.
Okay, that's my PSA.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This message brought to you by Amber.
Yeah.
Ray.
Okay. Sorry. I'm angry.
Yep.
So anyway, so she's like, what the fuck are you doing? He takes her down to the ground. He drags her into the back stock room and gets on top of her. She's screaming and she's telling him that she has a husband and 3 kids and that he doesn't want to do this. Like she's trying to get him to see her as a person.
Uh-huh.
But her attempts at making him sympathize don't really work. But she hopes that her screaming will be heard by one of the neighboring stores.
Mm-hmm.
But what she doesn't know is that those stores in the strip mall next to her, they close at 5.
Oh.
And so there's nobody there. So he starts smothering her screams and telling her to shut up and be quiet. And then he takes both of his thumbs and pushes them into her eyeballs.
Oh my God.
This is her first day working by herself.
Oh,
can you imagine?
My God, no. No, I
yeah.
cannot imagine.
He's like smothering her screams and all this, and she is certain that she's going to be raped. And then on top of the fact that this man is on top of her and much larger than her, Lenore has rheumatoid arthritis. So she's already just really, really weak, and she's unable to fight him off.
Yeah.
So she decides that her only hope is to try to connect with him. So she tries again. So she's calling him by his name. And she says to him, why don't you just rob the store? She tells him she's already got the cash deposit all ready for the night because she had already done her closing duties. She's like, I'll give it to you. I won't call the police. You can have it. And he agrees and he gets off of her.
Fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm. So Lenore goes and gets the bank bag with the cash deposit and hands it to him. And then he's just sort of lingering in the store.
Oh,
and he's
my
like,
God.
I know.
Oh my God. Fucking leave.
Fucking leave, right? He starts rummaging through drawers and he tells her he doesn't believe that she won't call the police and that he needs to tie her up. Yeah. So he finds a single piece of twine in one of the drawers and he leads her back to the stock room and he sits her down in a chair that has like 2 armrests on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she puts her arms on the chair, but she's like, I wonder how he's going to tie both of my arms with one piece of twine.
Right.
Like and just as she's starting to wonder this, he puts the twine around her neck and starts choking her.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. She's able to react like pretty quickly and she was able to get her fingers in between like the rope and her neck, which helped a little bit, but he's still like overpowering her and he's pulling tighter and tighter and tighter on this twine and she's struggling to breathe. And eventually she passes out and falls out of the chair and onto the ground.
Oh my God. Play dead, play dead, play dead, play dead.
Oh, we'll get to there.
Okay.
You know what? Okay. I fucking think that's brilliant and also weirdly spooky when people play dead.
Totally.
And why do the people that are the perpetrators not know? I mean, it's good that they don't.
Because they're dumb and they watch too many movies and they think it's easy to strangle people to death because that's what they do in the movies. It's like 5 seconds later, they're dead.
It takes a long time.
It takes a really long time to strangle somebody.
But there's something so spooky about playing dead. There's lots of cases where that's been what has kept someone alive.
Yes.
And it's so fucking spooky.
Yes.
So, yeah, she passes out, falls to the ground. When she comes to, he's on top of her again. And this time he pulls a switchblade out of his back pocket and he starts stabbing her.
Oh, my God.
He stabs her multiple times and then he slits her wrists.
Long way or short way?
I think the long way.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because she said that her hands went numb and blood was just spewing everywhere.
Oh, no.
I know.
But she's telling the story, so I already know she makes it.
She makes it. Yeah. Whew. Yeah.
Oh, Lenore.
I know.
Lenore
is a fucking badass.
Yep.
Yeah. So, after a couple of minutes, she didn't hear anything. So she gets up and she's using the wall to support herself because obviously she's like woozy and lightheaded because she's lost so much blood.
Plus she's been strangled.
Plus her eyeballs have been smushed. So I don't even know how well she can see. She's feeling her way through the store along this wall, right? And then she looks over like towards the hallway where the stockroom is. And there's also a bathroom over there and the bathroom light is on, which is unusual. And so she's like, what the hell? And then Steven walks out of the bathroom.
Oh, so no.
He's still in there. Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. It's that thing too, where it's like, you know that you need help urgently, but you also know that you need to wait a minute to make sure they're gone.
Yes.
And it's like, how do you know when it's like safe to get up? Because she knows she's laying there bleeding out and dying.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know for sure that he's gone.
Right.
Oh, it's just so fucking creepy. So anyway, he sees that she's up and he's fucking pissed and he runs towards her. He grabs her by the face and throws her down to the ground.
Oh my God. I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Steven.
I fucking hate Steven too. So she's pleading with him again. She tells him that she's dying. And he says, I'm dying too. And then he shows her a stab wound that he has on his arm that he was tending to in the bathroom.
He's dying too. He's dying
not fucking
too.
dying.
Oh my God, what a drama queen.
Also, it's probably like he got a little poke when the knife slipped when he was fucking stabbing her.
Right. When he was attempting to murder her.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he's, let's make it about you, Steven. You fucking douche with your giant gray hair. I hate you.
Okay.
So, I just burped into my mic.
I didn't hear it.
Don't worry. That's a rite of passage on this show.
Okay.
So she decides, you called it, that the best thing that she can do is to play dead. So after he throws her down to the ground by her face, she rolls over onto her side and she slows her breathing way down. And she's doing the thing, I'm really good at this, by the way, where it looks like your eyes are closed, but you're watching the person through your lashes.
Good job, Lenore.
Yep.
Good job. That's what that's how it's done.
So that's what she's doing. And she's seeing him pace around the store and she can totally see all of his movements. And then he walks over to her and kicks her in the back.
Just for good measure. Yeah. Okay.
Because he's a piece of shit, but she doesn't flinch and she doesn't make a sound. She pretends like she's dead.
Good job, Lenore.
Yep. And he seems pretty satisfied that she is dead, so he leaves through the back door.
Don't let it hit you on the way out.
No, fuck you, fake Steven.
Actually, no. You know what? I hope the door does hit him on the way out. I take that back.
I hope he jams his arm in it, the same arm that was stabbed.
Right. I hope he dies from that stab wound in his arm that he gave himself.
Yeah, and also it's like, okay, the stores next to her are closed, but it's only 5:30.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So she is able to crawl on her elbows to the front door and get out of the front door.
Like army crawl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
And she said as soon as the fresh air hit her, it was like the biggest relief she's ever felt in her life. And there's a man in a car in the parking lot who gets out and sees her and calls 911.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, it's good. But can you imagine being in a parking lot? It's 5:30. Like, he's probably just gotten off work and stopped to grab, like, milk or something.
At the convenience store. That's like a couple doors
down.
Yeah,
and a woman is crawling out on her elbows, bleeding out. Can you imagine?
No, I cannot imagine any of this, Amber. I cannot imagine any of this.
What the fuck? So, she is actually airlifted to a hospital where she spends 7 hours in surgery reattaching nerves and tendons.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When she wakes up, her husband Carl is there. And 26 hours later, her attacker, whose real name is Robert Francis Richards, is arrested. He is convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to 13 years in prison. Richards was a former truck driver, and just 6 weeks before Lenore's attack, he attacked a 26-year-old female florist who was working alone in her shop in Toronto.
Oh, my God.
So he's just like scoping out shops where women are closing the store by themselves.
That's literally his target demographic.
It's so fucking creepy. Yeah.
How did they get him?
She didn't say. This was an episode of I Survived. I don't know how they got him.
I wonder if he was on surveillance camera and they had his face.
You know, it's either that or like so many of these fucking idiots will like take them. I wonder if he took himself to the hospital to get stitches for his own wound.
Oh, God, I kind of really hope so.
Fucking dumbass. That's what happens a lot.
Fucking
it's like, you idiot.
Wuss.
And Lenore, she mostly made a full recovery, but she lost most of the function in her left hand from her wrist being slit.
She already had rheumatoid arthritis. How are her eyeballs?
Her eyeballs are okay.
Oh, good.
It did look like she had 2 black eyes for a while, but it didn't impair her vision at all.
Good.
And she never went back to that store again.
Fuck no, she didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, she
And
never
that's
went back to that fucking complex again. She never went to that convenience store. She never went anywhere near any of that ever again.
When I was doing my research, I researched that store too, just because I wanted to look at like, okay, she said there was a water store next door and then a convenience store. I kind of wanted to look at like, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And it looks like a pretty big strip mall. And I don't know if that development happened after this, but it looks like there's a lot of shops there. But either way, the clothing store, it just said permanently closed.
Oh, they're done now.
I don't know if that was a COVID thing or a Lenore thing, but they're no longer in business. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I know that was pretty short, but that was my fucking survival story of Lenore being a badass.
Oh, God bless Lenore. Jesus.
Let's not save 1 hour of minimum wage to put people at risk.
Seriously.
And close down shops by themselves.
Seriously. Let's...
At during the same time that I worked at Subway, my coworker Ryan, I loved him. Him and I were good friends. But there was one night when he was closing by himself and he was robbed at gunpoint.
I remember you telling me about that. That is so scary. At a Subway. It's just like...
At a Subway on Finn Hill.
Yeah. It's weird too because there are definitely places where it's like, if they don't, like, there's never not two people because there's a cash register and they don't trust their minimum wage employees not to steal from them because they're not making a living wage. So usually there's like two people for accountability, or a lot of places do it that way. Yeah. And even if the reasons is shitty, at least it makes them a little bit safer.
Was it Chris Rock that said, if you can't afford to pay your employee minimum wage, then you can't afford to be in business?
No, Chris Rock was the one who said if you're making minimum wage, what they're telling you is we'd pay you less if we could.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah, that's right. Have two people on a closing shift.
Seriously.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Although, I mean, they closed at 5 o'clock or 5:30. That's not like closing at midnight alone. So
it's not, but it's the time where you're counting down the till and getting the bank deposit ready, which
totally
people
hear
will
all that.
know.
Yeah, I totally hear all that. It's just, I mean, I can see on the one hand being like, they're in a strip, they're surrounded by these other businesses. It's 5 o'clock in the early evening. It's not like like she's there alone at 10 or 11 or 12 at night, No,
but if the direct next door businesses close at 5,
that's
then
true.
At least make your hours the same so that there's people around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It just fucking bugs. And it's different like if you're in like a mall proper, like an indoor mall.
Right. Right. Because you're really not alone because there's tons of people at a mall that work at a mall.
Tons of people. Yeah. It's just not safe and it's not worth saving the whatever $17 that you'd pay somebody else for that hour.
Right.
I mean, fucking come on, dude. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I'm mad.
Well, thank God Lenore made it. She's a badass.
She made it. She's a fucking badass. She did all the right things.
And what was this? Was it I Survived?
This was an I Survived, and I also got some information on thestar.com. And then shoporangeville.com is where I found her store that she worked at, which was Creekside Clothing Company.
Creekside Clothing Company definitely sounds like a place that like mom would shop at some point.
Yeah, I got like fashion bug vibes from it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But also, can you imagine like your very first shift?
No,
by yourself.
I mean, look. Every time you say, "Can you imagine?" I say, the answer is always going to be, "I cannot."
Okay, yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing that like sets the tone for everything. Like, okay, my very first time ever doing this is what happened. I'm never fucking working again. Yeah, no shit. I'm never going to have a job again.
No, I'm done working now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Working is bad for your health. Working is dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 100%.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you, Cece. That was a good one.
You're welcome.
Lenore sounds awesome. I feel
she is fucking
I'm so glad she made it.
Yeah. You got chaos.
Oh, I got
you have the chaos face.
Oh So, the last time we did an episode together, your chaos was a big fucking bummer. So, I like to come in with the chaos that is not a big fucking bummer. You know how I roll with the chaos.
Well, I mean, the last chaos you did, I learned that there was actually a Goat World magazine. So, I mean, there's that.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Jake asked me, or after that, he asked me how he can get a subscription to Goat World magazine.
Oh my God. I see a birthday gift in his future.
Yes, I have chaos for you.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about the 1904 Olympics marathon event. Have you heard about this?
No. I'm gonna though.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, great.
How do what do you think about the Olympic Games, Amber?
Oh God. Here's the thing. There's a couple events that I think are fun to watch. I really enjoy watching gymnastics and figure skating.
Everybody loves gymnastics and figure skating. No one doesn't love that.
Yeah, I also understand that these are people who probably starting at the age of 4 who have had to manipulate their bodies in ways that are unnatural, and I don't know. I feel weird about it.
Mixed emotions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, like, a lot of stuff comes to mind, right? Like, it's prestigious. It's very grand. Mm-hmm. It's kind of maybe even a little stuffy. It's a serious, big business. Mm-hmm. It's very expensive, right? We know that, like, when the Olympics come to town, if you win the bid, it's like they prep it for years. They spend tons of fucking money. They build all these new structures, right? And it's a big deal.
It's the Oscars of athletics.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, we've heard all the crazy stories about Olympic Village where the athletes, like, live during the Olympic Games and what goes on in that. Yeah, all that stuff. Well, they haven't always been that way. So the original Olympic Games were held in Olympia, Greece as a religious festival honoring Zeus. This was way back in like the BC times, right? And in the first dozen or so games, they only had one event. It was a foot race. It was like literally like a 600-foot race, like a dash, right? Not long distance at all. And it was established as an every 4-year event even then. And it went on for, I don't know, something like 1,200 years. Wow. Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. And they added more games along the way. There was no tradition of the Olympic flame that was introduced in the modern games in 1928, with the flame relay starting in 1936 when the games were in Berlin, which is its own controversial year because of Hitler and all that stuff, right? So, there was no Winter Olympics festival in the ancient games. The separate Winter Games were first authorized in 1911 to be held in 1916, but because of World War I, they didn't occur until 1924. So the first modern Olympic Games were held in 1896, and this is where the modern marathon was created and refined, was in the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games defined what a marathon was. The idea for the race was based on a Greek myth about Pheidippides. He ran from Athens to the town of Marathon, bringing news of a battle victory. So the first race at those first games started in Marathon and finished in Athens. 12 years later, in 1904, where our story takes place, the Olympics were held in the United States for the first time in St. Louis, Missouri. They were tied to the World's Fair that year to commemorate the centennial of the Louisiana Purchase. So they had them simultaneously in St. Louis. So according to Wikipedia, just a little tangent here, the Louisiana Purchase was the acquisition of the territory of Louisiana by the U.S. from France in 1803 in return for $15 million, or approximately $18 per square mile. The U.S. nominally acquired a total of 828,000 square miles. However, France only controlled a small fraction of this area. For the majority of the area, the U.S. bought the preemptive right to obtain, quote, Indian lands by treaty or by conquest to the exclusion of other colonial powers. So basically, they bought the right to colonize this land.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
So these two events held simultaneously in the U.S. on this anniversary was really a reinforcement of the idea of American imperialism.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
Yep. So the Olympic Games were largely overshadowed by the fair, which had its own sporting events and weird spectacles of demeaning competitions among Native Americans, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
But the marathon event at the Olympic Games sure did give the fair a run for its money. And it was the opening event. So let's take a look at the lineup. First, we should note that at this time, only men were allowed to run marathons. The Boston Marathon already existed and wouldn't allow women until 1972.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so these men. There were a few recognized marathoners in the race who had either won or placed in the Boston Marathon or previous Olympic marathons. Some of them Americans like Sam Miller, A.L. Newton, John Lorden, Michael Spring, and Thomas Hicks. But the rest were basically randos. So
randos.
So you got Fred Lors. He's an American who did all his training at night because he was a bricklayer by day. He earned his spot by placing in a special 5-mile race hosted by the Amateur Athletic Union. Then there were 10 Greek men who had never run a marathon before, but they had high hopes of representing Greece well and like winning the marathon to maintain, the Greek superiority in this race in the Olympics.
They had never ran a marathon and they're in the Olympics?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Remember when I said that this wasn't the Olympics we know yet?
I was going to say next year you'll see me on the fucking gymnastics team. If that's how it works. Doing somersaults. Nailed it.
We have 2 men of the Tsuwana tribe of South Africa, Len Tanyane and John Mashiani, and both of them were running their first marathon. They were the first Black Africans to compete in the Olympics. In fact, they were the only Black athletes to represent South Africa until the end of apartheid 86 years later.
Wow. They
arrived at the starting line barefoot.
Oh.
Next up, we have Felix Carbajal. He's a Cuban national and a former mailman who raised money to come to the States by trekking the length of the island. He came in through New Orleans, where he lost all his money on a dice game, and he had to walk and hitchhike to get to St. Louis.
That vaguely sounds adjacent to the plot of Titanic. Where he won his trip on the boat in a poker game.
Sort of, okay. Yep. But like in reverse. Like he lost his ability to get to the game because of a dice game.
Got it. Okay.
He arrived at the race in a white long sleeve shirt, long dark pants, street shoes, and a beret. And another runner felt...
You know what would be good for running? A beret. A light beret while I jog.
And another runner felt bad for him and cut his pants off at the knees. I have a picture of him for you so you can see.
That's nice.
Okay, so now the route. So one official called it the most difficult a human being was ever asked to run over. It was a 24.85 mile course. I should note here that at this time, the 26-mile, 385 yards marathon had not yet been established. Marathons varied in length between 24 and 26 miles until the London Olympics 4 years later, based on the exact distance between Windsor Castle and White City Stadium in London.
I have always wondered where this arbitrary distance has come from.
Me too.
That's interesting.
And that's where it comes from. Okay.
Got it. Wow. Thank you for that.
So the course started out with 5 laps around the track at Francis Field, then headed out into the city roads, which were inches deep in dust. There were 7 hills, varying from 100 to 300 feet high, some with brutally long ascents. And many places, cracked stone was strewn across the roadway, creating perilous footing. And the men had to constantly dodge crosstown traffic, delivery wagons, railroad trains, trolley cars, and people walking their dogs.
Oh my God, someone's making a delivery and walking their dogs while you're running an Olympic marathon.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
good.
Sounds good. Sounds fun. Sign me up. There were only
Mhm.
2 places in the whole 26 miles where athletes could secure fresh water. From a water tower at 6 miles
Oh my God.
and a roadside well at 12 miles.
So if you're thirsty at 4, sorry about it.
That's right. Well, here's the deal.
Oh my God.
Here's the deal. James Sullivan, he's the chief organizer of the games. He wanted to minimize fluid intake to test the limits and effects of purposeful dehydration, which was a common area of research at the time.
So he is doing a science project on these runners?
That's right.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Do they know that?
I'm not sure what they knew.
Oh my God. Cool.
So this guy's literally literally my next line is this guy is literally testing a theory on these marathon runners. So cars carrying coaches and physicians drove alongside the runners, kicking the dust up and making the runners go into coughing fits. In fact, a whole grip of dudes on horses rode ahead of the racers to clear the roads, and right behind them was a motorcade of journalists, doctors, support teams, and race officials producing a dust cloud that engulfed the runners for most of the race.
Great.
Okay. The race commenced, and so did the chaos. William Garcia of California was most affected by all the dust. He collapsed on the side of the road and was ultimately hospitalized for hemorrhaging.
Oh, no.
The dust coated his throat and ripped his stomach lining. If he had not been attended to immediately, he may have bled to death.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Fred Lors, the bricklayer, he led the pack at the start, but was quickly overtaken by one of the pros, Thomas Hicks, who at the 10-mile mark begged a couple of his support dudes for water, and they refused him. But they did sponge out his mouth with warm distilled water.
Oh, good. Problem solved.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
7 miles from the finish line, his handlers gave him egg whites and strychnine.
I have questions. What?
This is the first recorded...
I can't. Egg whites and strychnine?
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yep, this is the first recorded use of drugs in the modern Olympics. So, strychnine is rat poison, right?
Yes, it's what Milton uses in Office Space in the guacamole. Because he's mad. What?
Well, apparently, and this is I didn't know, small doses of strychnine is a stimulant.
Oh, good.
And in fact, it is currently prohibited for in-competition use by the World Anti-Doping Agency.
So it gives you like an energy boost?
Yep.
I had no idea.
But in small doses. Larger, not so much.
So just watch your strychnine intake, folks. Watch it.
But in 1904, there were no rules against performance-enhancing substances.
Sounds like there's no fucking rules about anything
There's
in
no
1904.
rules here. There's no rules here.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
So anyway, Hicks' handlers also carried a flask of brandy for him, but they did not give him any while they kept an eye on his condition.
They just kept it for safekeeping, or...
Well, let's just stick with strychnine for now. Okay,
sorry. We don't want to mix our drugs. Strychnine and brandy. Who knows what could happen? Okay.
So Lors, our bricklayer, he also started having issues around the 10-mile mark. He started cramping, so he flagged down a car for a ride back to Francis Field, and he was like waving at runners and spectators as he drove around in comfort.
Was it a car or a dusty horse-drawn carriage?
It was a car.
Oh, good. Good.
Mm-hmm. Carvajal, the Cuban, reportedly stopped to chat regularly as he ran. Just stop and talk to people. At one point, he was talking with some peeps who were sitting in a car eating peaches, and he asked them for one. And when they refused to give him one, he snatched 2 and ate them as he ran away.
I want to see a double-fisted peach heist while he's running.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
good for you.
Yeah. Good for him. Good for Felix. So further along his route, he came upon an apple orchard and he snacked on some apples, but they were rotten, and he got stomach cramps, so he laid down and took a nap.
Oh, just a little quick snooze on his marathon.
And his Olympic marathon. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what I'd be fucking doing.
Can I just lay down and take a nap?
Can I just have a little siesta right here? Yeah.
Sam Meller, one of those real runners who was actually most favored to win, also had cramps around mile 9 and started walking instead of running, and eventually he just dropped out of the race.
Did he eat yucky apples?
No, he just, I'm assuming he was dehydrated because they wouldn't give him any water.
Because he didn't make it to the 6-mile water mark?
Yeah. Well, he did make it to the 6th one, but he couldn't make it to 12.
Oh, good fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Lors is riding along in the car, right? He gets out around a mile before the finish line and trots on into Francis Field and takes the win.
Because all of his competitors have fucking dropped dead?
Well, not all of them, but he was way ahead of them because he was in a car. And it was just under 3 hours. So people are cheering him in the stadium because they don't know. They're cheering him in the stadium.
Wow.
So first daughter, Alice Roosevelt Longworth, has literally placed a crown of laurels on his head. The crowd is cheering for an American win. She's just about to put the gold medal around his neck when someone calls out, "That dude rode in a car for half the race."
Oh my God.
So now everyone's booing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The cheers turn to boos, and Lors just laughs and says, "JK." That's just joshing you.
Oh my God.
And he's banned for life.
Oh. And he's banned for life. Okay. All right.
Meanwhile, Hicks, strychnine coursing through his veins, is about 4 miles out from the finish. He's ashen and limping along. And he hears that Lors was disqualified, and he perks right up. And his handlers give him more egg whites and strychnine.
What's with the egg whites? Why? What's going on? You just need a little pep in your step. Here you go.
This time, they let him wash it down with brandy.
Okay.
And they soak him from head to toe in warm water.
Okay.
Now, I should mention at this point that we're in St. Louis in the summertime, and it's definitely in the 90s.
Ew.
Right.
Warm water?
Yes.
There you go, buddy. Here's some brandy and warm water. Get you nice and toasty. Keep running.
He did pick up his pace. He did.
Oh, good for him.
One official wrote, over the last 2 miles of the road, Hicks was running mechanically, like a well-oiled piece of machinery. His eyes were dull, lusterless. The ashen color of his face and skin had deepened. His arms appeared as weights well tied down. He could scarcely lift his legs while his knees were mostly stiff.
Are we positive that he was alive?
Barely. Just wait, it does turn into almost a Weekend at Bernie's thing here in the end. So
I was like, I know. Who's dragging him? What are we doing?
Well, then he started hallucinating.
Weekend at Bernie's. This is bad. Okay.
So he's hallucinating. He thought the finish line was still 20 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
In the last mile, he begged for something to eat. Then he begged to lay down. They gave him more brandy, but they refused to give him tea. He had 2 more egg whites. He walked up the first of the last 2 hills and then jogged down on the incline. And when he got into the stadium, he tried to run, but he was just barely shuffling. And then his trainers Weekend at Bernie's him over the line, holding him up while his feet moved back and forth. And he was declared the winner.
Oh, good for him. The dead winner.
The dead winner.
Oh my God.
It took 4 doctors and an hour for Hicks to feel well enough just to leave the grounds after that. He had lost 8 pounds during the course of the race.
Oh my God.
And he declared, "Never in my life have I run such a tough course. The terrific hills simply tear a man to pieces."
Jesus Christ. Okay. I have so many unpopular opinions, but anyway, go ahead.
We'll hold them for the end.
Okay.
Taking time out to nap worked out well for Carvajal, who took 4th place. Tanyanye, one of the South African men, despite being chased a mile off course by a dog, came in 9th, and his buddy Masciani came in 12th. Sullivan, that guy in charge and the weirdo who thought running for 26 miles in the Missouri heat without water was a grand experiment.
Sure.
Yeah, he and his kind, read white dudes, claimed that the marathon was proof of racial superiority. Despite the fact that the event was almost entirely filled with white runners, many with coaches in tow, Charles J.P. Lucas, a physician and a writer and a bigoted white dude who traveled by car observing and assisting Hicks, wrote in his blandly titled book, The Olympic Games 1904, that the marathon established, quote, "the stamina of the Caucasian race and the superior distance running powers," end quote.
Fuck right off.
His book did not mention that while Tanyane and Masciani finished 9th and 12th, their white South African teammate, Bertie Harris, never made it back to Francis Field.
Right.
News of this shit show of a race instantly made circulation, with newspapers reporting that Olympic Committee members were calling for its removal from future games. And even Sullivan chimed in publicly stating, quote, "a 25-mile run is asking too much of human endurance," end quote.
Okay.
Even though he really tried, he was unsuccessful in canceling it for the games moving forward. But he was successful in banning American women from the games the following Olympics in London.
Okay, go fuck yourself.
He didn't just hate black people, he hated women too. But
Of course.
he can't win it all, not even this asshole. And John Taylor, a black athlete, won an Olympic gold medal running with the U.S. distance medley relay squad in those next games in London in 1908.
Well, good for you, sir.
Hicks would never run another marathon. Like many of the athletes, including Tanyane and Masciani, he practically disappeared from recorded history after the race. And Loris's lifetime ban would last less than a year, and he later won the 1905 Boston Marathon.
Oh, okay, great.
Carvajal continued to travel for marathons. In 1905, he returned to St. Louis to take 3rd in the inaugural All-Western Marathon. The following year, the Cuban government sent him to Greece for an Olympics-adjacent marathon, only for him to disappear on his way somewhere in Italy. After being presumed dead, complete with newspaper obituaries, he reappeared in Havana several months later and resumed racing.
What? Here I am. It's like a Where's Waldo? I'm in Havana now and I'm running. What the fuck? Okay. Weirdo.
And that
Did he have any explanation for his whereabouts?
I got none of that.
No. Oh, okay, great. Sorry.
So that's it. That's the 1904 Olympic marathon event.
Wow.
I got most of my info from the SmithsonianMag.com, RunnersWorld.com, Penn.Museum, and a couple of wiki articles.
Wow. That was entertaining AF, sister. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
You and your chaos stories are fucking next level.
I figured you'd enjoy that. Besides, we needed a little uplifting.
Oh, man. Yeah. Wow.
Some fun chaos. Some old-timey chaos.
You're welcome. Old-timey chaos. Wow. Yeah, I just...
You have opinions. You have unpopular opinions.
I have unpopular opinions about... I don't know. Maybe I should... I don't know. The whole idea of... Like, I understand, like... being athletic is something that you really have to work at. And I don't know. The whole sports ball athletic, like revering people in that way is just odd to me in general.
Sure. I get it. I totally get it.
I don't think it's natural to push your body to do things that human beings aren't designed to really do.
People do it all the time in all kinds of weird ways.
I know. I don't know. I just feel weird about it. Like when you start getting into like young girls who never get their periods, and it just feels like, I don't know.
I hear you.
It feels like you're damaging your body so that you can get a necklace with a gold chunk on it. And then what?
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, maybe a Wheaties endorsement.
And then you're too old to participate at the age of 23. You know what I mean? And then what?
I mean, when you go to college and you become a doctor, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I hear you.
I don't know.
I totally hear you.
Yeah. But I mean, I do acknowledge the hard work and dedication and everything that goes into that. It perplexes me, the, feeling of accomplishment of, I don't know. I guess I just
you
value.
just don't have that thing. You just don't have that thing that makes you want to do that, right? That is driven by that bragging rights of that accomplishment or whatever.
It's just a thing of I am driven to be fit and take care of my body, but when you're doing a thing that the human body isn't really meant to do, and you're hungry and you're thirsty and you're puking and you're dehydrated and it's why are you doing that to yourself so that you could say that you won?
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about people that insist on climbing Mount Everest. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I get it. I totally get what you're saying. I totally get it.
Yeah, I respect it. I acknowledge that it's hard. It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yep.
That's all.
Can you imagine? No, Amber cannot imagine.
I cannot.
To sum
Absolutely not.
To sum it up, Amber cannot imagine.
I could also stay relatively fit and happy and never, I don't know. It's just hard for me to understand.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
It's a lot of damage to your body.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Whatever. We all have our things.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I spent my entire day off yesterday and today working on podcast stuff, and there might be people wandering around this planet that are like, why the fuck would you do that when you could be out in the sunshine?
There you go.
So there you go. Everybody's got their thing.
Everybody's got their thing.
I respect that. I take back what I said.
Okay, never mind. She doesn't need any of it. She takes it all back. Stricken from the record.
No, it's just not my thing, but I respect that it is somebody else's thing.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
That's all.
Okay, great.
Well, that was very entertaining. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
I've had a lot of wine and zero food.
Well, why don't you go get some food and fix that ratio?
Yeah, running a marathon right now would be not a good idea.
Definitely ill-advised.
Mm-hmm. I fucking love you.
I love you too.
It's too late for a nap. It's literally bedtime.
Okay, well, go eat and go to sleep.
I'm going to.
Pull a Carvajal and just have a nibble and a lay down.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Little brandy, little poison apple, little strychnine, and nighty night.
No, not the strychnine. That'll keep you up.
Oh.
That's not gonna be helpful.
Okay. Well, I fucking love you.
I love you too.
Thanks for podcasting with me,
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Always.
Yeah.
Love you. This was fucking
really
chaotic. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Artwork by Erica Peterson. Music by Paul Abner. Audio editing by Amber Clifton. We are on Facebook at Crime, Wine, and Chaos and on Instagram at Crime, Wine, and Chaos Pod. If you would like to support the show or submit a listener story, you can visit our website at crimewineandchaos.com for our Patreon link and listener story submission. Cheers!